All right, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Big waves to you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, all right, all right. So, good day today. Hump day, Wednesday, lot going on. How many of you feeling some spring coming? Like if you're up north, it's coming. But how many of you feel a little spring in the air? And I'll tell you what spring also brings. It brings a little craziness. Like you're like, man, there's so much going on right now. Like, what's happening? Well, spring's coming, right? Spring's coming. So, uh, anyway, good to see you.
Is that spring fever you're talking about?
Spring fever. Yeah, everybody gets a little bit of spring fever, ready to go. Like, who's seeing the ocean in their future? Things like that. So, all right. Well, that's not our word today. And our word for today is courage. Chris Flynn, it's our word of the year. I love the word courage because, well, it's just one of those words that if you're really out trying to thrive and not in just survival mode, that word comes up a lot in your mind, in between your ears. Maybe you don't call it courage, but I think it'll make sense when we talk about it today. So, Chris Flynn, thank you for this word. We didn't see any birthdays today, by the way. So, if it is your birthday, please let us know. But courage is the ability to do something that frightens you or me. It's something that we don't know, like we can't see the end of the staircase, right? I think about like a foggy road and you can't see around. You ever been driving before and you're like, I can't see through the fog. You got to have a little bit of courage, or you would just ease on your brakes and pull off to the side of the road if the fog let up. It's strength also to face pain or grief. Like we live in this life that the greatest history book of all time talks about. We're going to have struggle. It's just the way it's going to be. And we've got to have the courage to get through the pain, to get through the grief, to get through the trials, to get through what's scaring me to death. And I want to tell you Chris Flynn, what was so important. I'm going to read this morning because it's seven after. I'm going to turn it to Andrea. But I went in a lot of different ways, but I read my devotional every morning. I want to read this to you, okay? How can I turn my failures into success? Would you agree that sometimes if you're in or feel like you have failed or you're failing, or it could be business. My volume's not where it needs to be. My money in my business is not where it needs to be. I'm failing. We tell ourselves all this stuff right in our head. Like, I'm failing. I invested in the stock and I didn't get what I wanted. I'm failing. This relationship didn't go the way I wanted. I'm a failure. Like all of this stuff, like we're telling ourselves, guess what? The good book says it's life. Right? There's never been, I don't know, maybe ask Brenda. She might know of a perfect person out there, but there's never been a perfect person. There's one walked the world, and we're not it. We're not him. So, guess what? We're going to have the courage, and sometimes setbacks make us not want to step out, right? Imagine if you had a little fender bender through the fog at one point, so you never go through the fog again. You're like, I'm never doing that again. But yet you need to do it to get through to the other side. So I want to read this morning. I think it's so big. Success. How can I turn my failure into success? Don't be afraid of failing again. The only true failure is that which utterly defeats you and makes you unable to try again. Failure wins when you accept defeat and give up. Jo- So it's talking about when Joshua got defeated in a battle and he dealt with the causes of defeat head on and then led an army once again into a dangerous battle. And that time he won victorious. You must have the courage to face failure, to face, you must have the courage. Here's what it said this morning. You must have the courage to face failure and take risk again. Like the lesson you learn from your failures will make you better able to handle similar situations in the future. If you don't give up, yesterday's failure will turn into today's or tomorrow's victory. And so I thought about that and I thought, man, Nelson Mandela said, I learned that courage was not in the absence of fear, but the triumph over fear. And so here's what I want for all of us this morning, and I'll turn it to Andrea. Because I had all these notes, but I went in a different direction because when I was reading my devotional, I'm like, oh my goodness, it parallels right with courage. It even talks about courage. Because I don't know where you're at. Maybe it's a relationship this morning. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's a personal battle you're going through. But courage is your answer. And we've got to have that. Like that is the goal in us that God gave us to say, I can move through the fog. I can get through the fog and get to the other side, even though I don't see it. I don't see what it looks like. But I'm going to drive and keep driving and keep putting left foot, right foot, step, left foot, right foot, step. I'm going to keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And just like Joshua, even though I got defeated on a battle, I'm going to win the next one. Okay? So, Andrew, I'll turn it to you. This made me passionate. I'm passionate now after this. This was a great word. Thanks, Chris.
Well, beautiful word, beautiful lesson. And I gotta say, I've definitely stayed home when it was foggy. I have definitely turned around and said, peace out, forget about it. So you're having me look at fog a little bit differently. Um, than maybe I should have in the past. So Winston Churchill said, "Fear is a reaction, courage is a decision." And if we've had probably two conversations, you've probably heard me say that my life motto is literally feel the fear and do it anyway, because I am just one of those people that's a little bit fearful. Like picture a Chihuahua, they're kind of shaky, everything makes them a little bit nervous. They might have a bigger bark than bite. So maybe that's who I am as a person. And so I can be pretty fearful. And I was watching my world shrink and shrink and shrink because there were so many things that I was afraid of. And so I was choosing, not to drive over that freeway overpass because, bad things could happen, or not get on that plane, or not do this, not do that. And my world was just getting so small. So I decided that I didn't want to live small anymore. I didn't want to raise my kids to think that their world had to be small. So I just had to feel the fear and do it anyway. I actually talked to my family about this just a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about flying, and they said, "Oh, you must be so chill on an airplane because you're on an airplane all the time." And I said, "No, I hate flying. I am the most nervous, like, Coach has been on an airplane with me before. I am probably not so much fun to fly with because I am a basket case, but you know what I like? I like seeing people and I like seeing new places. So what does that mean? That means I got to get on the airplane. So it is what it is. But what I looked into today was, okay, if you're fearful too, how can we have just a little bit more courage? Right? What can we do to grow into that courage space, so that we can feel that fear, but still go make that next step? So, first of all, I've got to notice it. I've got to notice what scares me. And it might be something, oh, um, well, my notes just kicked me. We'll just say it might just be something small. And we're going to leave it at that. And I've got to recognize that in order to let that fear go, I've got to notice it. So maybe it is that freeway overpass that we are talking about. I've got to say, you know what? Maybe this isn't super rational, so I can just go get back on the freeway. Next is to find some inspiration. So who in your life is courageous in places they're not, right? Picture that person. I'm going to picture you, Brenda, get up on a stage, you walk out there with so much confidence and you're going to just say whatever, right? Like that is something that is not inside my skill set. So I can go watch Brenda and I can learn from her. I can figure out the, watch the choices that she makes and then try to follow in her footsteps. Good job, Brenda. And it could be a person that you know, it could be a person, from history, it could be from a book, it could be from a movie, but just know that you can get inspiration from people like that. Next is to do something every day to grow your comfort zone. So if you do, maybe you go to the gym, crazy, I'm going to think about it, but maybe you go to the gym and you get on a machine that you've never tried before, right? That can be a little bit intimidating. Maybe you pick up the phone and have a conversation you're not super comfortable with. I don't know, but just do something, even if it's teeny tiny, that just expands that comfort zone. Because as the comfort zone gets bigger, our courage grows, our fear gets a little bit smaller. Next would be to focus on gratitude. So even in moments of extreme fear, there's always something to be grateful for. We're
Yes, it
gonna get
is.
there.
Yep.
So hunt, goodness gracious, I was doing so good. Hunt for that gratitude. Next is to put it in perspective. So in the grand scheme of life, does it really matter? So if I'm up on stage, heaven forbid, right? If I'm on the coach's corner and my eyes get leaky, heaven forbid, is it the end of the world, right? Is it the worst thing? Hopefully not. Hopefully this is a safe space. Sorry, guys, we're just going to be leaky forever. But go look at it and realize, you know what? The likelihood of a bee flying into my car at the exact moment that I'm driving over that freeway overpass and having me, jerk the wheel and fly off into space is probably the odds of that are pretty small, right? So let's just put it in perspective because most likely I can let that fear go. Next is to try the hard things. So to get confidence, right? We've got to do hard things. And guess what? The higher my confidence goes, the lower my fear is, the more courage I'll have. And then lastly, let's just give ourselves some grace. So having courage takes a growth mindset. It takes an attitude that we can grow and we can change if we choose to. So nothing's locked in forever. We can change. So remember, it just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of practice, and we just have to give ourselves grace in the process. So we got through it, guys.
Great.
Thanks so
Hey,
much.
great.
Great word,
No, no,
Chris.
no. Great lesson. Great lesson. And here's the thing. We all face fear. We all have to have courage, like different areas, right? Like what John's not fearful of, I am fearful of, right? It's the way life is. And we're all going to come through challenges. We're either going into it, we're in the middle of it, or we're coming out of it. Like that is this life we live. So at the end of the day, courage is a word that we need to hold close to our heart. So, guys, love you, appreciate you. Reminder, if you're a part of the Millionaire Mentorship, that is going on this evening, 6 p.m. Central. Have a great one out there. We'll see you back around on Thursday. Love you guys.
You
Bye,
guys have
guys.
a great day.